Members, it's time and we have a quorum. I call to order the meeting. There are two papers for discussion today. Before the meeting, the administration submitted paper number ECI bracket 2025 to 26-7, and this paper contains the approved changes to the directorate establishments since 2020, and that includes the proposed changes to the establishment and the items of discussion today. I would like to remind members, if there is any direct or indirect interest, peculiar interest in the items to be discussed today, please, in accordance with Rule 83A of the Rules of Procedure, disclose the nature of such interest before you speak on the item. I would also like to remind members that to note the requirements for taking part in voting where there is direct peculiar interest in Rule 84. Now, Item 1, proposed retention of A1 time-limited non-civil service position of Director, Hong Kong Talent Engage, D4 equivalent. B, one-time limited supernumerary post of Senior Principal Executive Officer, D2. And C, one-time limited non-civil service position of Head Research Unit, D2 equivalent, in the Labour and Welfare Bureau with effect from the original expiry date or upon approval of the Finance Committee, whichever is the later, up to the 31st of March 2028, to continue to lead and effectively take forward the work related to talent attraction and support, manpower planning and research, etc. The administration consulted the panel on manpower on this proposal on the 28th of April 2025. Attending the meeting today, we have Mr. Chris Sun, Secretary for Labour and Welfare, Mr. Andrew Zhang, Deputy Secretary for Labour and Welfare and Manpower, Mr. Anthony Lau, Director, Hong Kong Talent Engage of the Labour Welfare and Welfare Bureau, Ms. Anna Su, Deputy Director, Hong Kong Talent Engage, Labour and Welfare Bureau, and Mr. Roy Chen, Head Research Unit, Labour and Welfare Bureau. First, I invite Mr. Lam Chen Sing to report on the discussion of the panel on manpower. Mr. Lam Chen Sing, please. Thank you, Chairman. At its meeting on the 28th of April 2025, the panel on manpower discussed the retention of 3 time-limited supernumerary directorate posts and time-limited non-civil service positions in the Labour and Welfare Bureau with effect from the original expiry date or upon approval of the Finance Committee, whichever is later, up to the 31st of March 2028, to continue to lead and effectively take forward the work related to talent attraction and support, manpower planning and research. Members supported the submission of the proposal to the Establishment Subcommittee for consideration. Members recognized the effort of the administration to attract talents and considered the 3 time-limited directorate posts proposed to be retained play an important role in the ongoing effort of implementing the talent policy and strengthening manpower planning and research. Members suggested that the Hong Kong Talent Engage should step up support to incoming talents and set key performance indicators for publicity and promotional activities on attracting talents as a means to measure the efficacy of these activities. Members noted that the work of the Research Unit, RU, is crucial in supporting the government's formulation of talent and other labour and welfare policies. Members expressed concerns about the measures which the administration could take to further improve the precision of RU's estimates and analyses. Members expected RU to strengthen their work on data collection and assisting the administration to review its existing policies on an evidence-based basis. The administration has responded to the questions and concerns of members at the meeting. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lam. Secretary, are you going to first say a few words? Members, I think we could go straight to the paper because we are all very familiar with this issue. That's fine. 10 members, 5 minutes each first. I'll read out the list. Dr. Charmaine Kwong, Ms. Carmen Ken, Mr. Rock Chen, Mr. Bill Tang, Mr. Kenneth Leung, Mr. Charles Siu Chung, Mr. Chen Yong, Mr. Perry Yu, Dr. So Chung Wing, and Dr. Tanya Hang. 5 minutes each. Dr. Chow Min Kong. Thank you. Well, members are all very concerned about competing for talents and retaining talents. Now, the free posts are to be kept for 3 years. And some may ask that if the director has other job offers. Now, the first time the contract was only renewed for 2 years and not 3 years. Why is that? And then the SAO government takes very seriously the integration of talent, education, and technology. And universities take very seriously the need to compete for talents. There are different packages and support measures. So how can you help different universities, in particular the UGC-funded universities, to compete for talents? Because the talents they are competing for are leaders in science and research and so on. So if you manage to bring in a leader, he or she will bring with him their team, and I think talents, if they want to come to Hong Kong, they will go to the themed website for information. And then we have asked the talent engage the talent engage has certain tests uploaded, and so people could do a test, and then they could also put forward their requests. So how can we make sure the talent engage would play an effective role in promoting Hong Kong? And they can tell talents if they come to Hong Kong, there will be better career or business opportunities for them. 3 questions. Secretary. Thank you, Dr. Chow, for your question. First of all, I would like to thank members for your recognition of the work of the Hong Kong Talent Engage. Now, the first time we created posts for a period of 3 years, and because the commencement date is a bit different, so it's actually just 2 years plus. And so that's why we want to make savings, and that's why we only renew the contract for 2 years. And then by 2028, we'll see whether there's still a need to keep the post. If so, then we will come to the Finance Committee to seek approval. Of course, we agree the work of the Hong Kong Talent Engage is important, and the team will spare no effort in their work. And the director is very much popular. He is highly competent, and he's built a robust foundation for attracting talents to Hong Kong. And please rest assured, we have many talents in Hong Kong, and we have sufficient talents, I believe, in Hong Kong that will help the Hong Kong Talent Engage to do its work properly. Second point, Dr. Chow comes from a university, of course, and my understanding is if you want to bring in top-notch professors and their research teams, actually is for the universities to scout for such talents, because they are the one with the expertise. And so that there's actually the Hong Kong Talent Engage will not intervene there. My understanding is the Hong Kong Talent Engage, from its past 2 years of experience, focused more on reaching out to the business sector. And of course, if scholars are interested in coming to Hong Kong and they go through the Hong Kong Talent Engage, we will help them. But then if you talk about the top-notch, world-class professors, definitely it will be the universities who will reach out to them. And of course, if they want assistance from us, we'll definitely provide it. You can rest assured. Now, we want to make the most of our institutional advantage and our education resources, and we'll promote the development of universities. Now, if you've been to our website, you'll notice that we've updated our website, making it easier to search for information. Because there are people who are not familiar with Hong Kong. Maybe as the first step, they will first go to the website of the Hong Kong Talent Engage or the Immigration Department. But we want to provide them with the information that they need. Perhaps the first step is for them to find out how they could come to Hong Kong. So there are various tools. They just need to input their personal information, and then we will suggest them to consider a certain admission scheme. and some go to the website to look for jobs, and so we also provide, we want to provide more information in that respect. Ms. Carmen Can. Thank you, Chairman. Now, the proposed extension, the Secretary said they try to make savings, so they now the expiry date is the 31st of March 2028, so that's the date you propose now, considering the fiscal position. Now, but then that doesn't mean there is no certainty or continuity in the work of the Hong Kong Talent Engage, HKTE. Now, in paragraph 6, it's mentioned that in the preliminary planning work of the 15th five-year plan, you ensure our talent policies closely align with our country's future development. Again, this is to ensure the continuity of our talent policies. So the post will expire on the 31st of March 2028. I want to know how you can ensure continuity then. Then the Secretary mentioned that you would like to have 6 more months to see whether the talents who have arrived in the first batch will actually renew their visas. Of course, with visa renewal is a matter for the Immigration Department. That then does the HKT play any role in that? How would the director help to ensure the incoming talents will renew their their visas? That's the first question. Second question. Now, you have engaged a consultant to compile a report on the impact of our talent policies on our economic development. Will you renew that report? Perhaps it could include, say, the positive impact of our talent policies. So there should be updating of the report by a certain point. And again, this is to align our talent policies with the country's development. Thank you, Ms. Can, for your questions. Now, on talent policies, of course, these are standing policies. And, you know, in the third plenary session of the 20th CPC and Central Committee, there's a new role position for Hong Kong, that is, we have to become an international hub for high caliber talents. So this remains our policy, will not change. And of course, the HKTE, the posts there are time limited, and at this point we will just extend the post to the end of March 2028. But of course, we'll keep the situation in view, and it will certainly make sure there's continuity. Ms. Kang can rest assured. On the renewal of visas, I know members are very much interested in that. Please give us a bit more time, because we need to collect more data, and then we can share the information with you. Well, at this point, we don't think we have gathered large enough body of data, but still we believe we are happy with the data collected so far. And in this year and the next 2 years, we should be able to achieve the target of 50,000 renewals. Now, the HKTE does help in helping them in advance, so that they will be able to renew their visas. Well, by that means either the talents have found a job or they have started a business. And then you will see that we have actually organized various job fairs and platforms, online and offline, to help talents find work. And also we try to help them to settle down in Hong Kong, say, to help their children find schools in Hong Kong and so on. So the HKT has been helping in those respects. And then at the beginning, we have done simple questionnaire survey. We find out from incoming talents how much they're making, whether the children are going to school, and so on. So and so we have collected such information. We'll share with you later. And then at that time, of course, there's no visas. There are no visas due for renewal yet. So now we will include this question too, because some will be renewing their visas, and so we want to collect information on how many have successfully renewed their visa. But so please allow us a bit more time to collect the information. Chairman, I support the proposal.
Well, Secretary, when you answered the second part of the question, you talked about meeting targets, especially the quantitative target. But I think more importantly, you should make sure that the quality target is met. In paragraph 10 of the paper, U.S. has not been included in your itineraries in promoting Hong Kong. Now, against the current international political landscape, I fully appreciate what it means. But in the past 6 months, there have been major changes in the U.S. politics. So now that there are some changes, my question for the Secretary is this. Now, we have talents in the United States who are not U.S. nationals. They may have the permanent residency status. They may even have U.S. passports. And these talents may wish to take their development somewhere else, especially the science and technology talents and even entrepreneurs. So, Secretary, would you consider, on the basis of changes in the U.S. policies, including U.S. in your itinerary? My second question is this. If according to the government's judgment, the time is not ripe for us to promote our policy in the United States, what about your promotion efforts in overseas markets? Can you tell us more about that? Secretary. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chen. Now, I'll give an overview, and then Mr. Anthony Lau, Director, will give you more details, because the Director and the Deputy Director are responsible for the delegation visits. Now, our promotional efforts cover different places in the world. For example, we have North America, Europe, and then Southeast Asia and Asia. We visited North America. At least we visited Canada, the country next to the U.S. It's part of our promotional scheme. Of course, it's best if we could visit these countries physically, but at the same time, we do provide online information. It is possible for talents from around the world to apply for visas here. Basically, the applications are filed and processed online. There is no need for the talents to physically come to Hong Kong. We have provided facilitation to the applicants. Regardless of the origin of talents, it is important that Hong Kong remains attractive to them. We need to offer opportunities for them. So the first step is for us to build our brand, to generate more opportunities for talents around the world to join us. And I'll give the floor to Director to give you more details. Yes, Mr. Lau. Thank you, Chair. About overseas promotion, like the Secretary mentioned, we have different market segments. In Americas, this year we visited Canada. In fact, last year we also visited Canada. So we've been there twice. Regarding the politics in the U.S. now, indeed we cancelled a few trips. There have been some hiccups in the arrangements, but rest assured, even if we're not able to go on a U.S. trip, there are other ways to reach out to other countries, such as Australia and other countries in Europe. That means we have more time to visit these countries. As for the U.S. market, we will enhance our publicity efforts on social media platforms in particular to showcase the talents in Hong Kong. We make use of Facebook, Instagram. Our colleagues on these social media platforms have been very active in rolling out promotion and publicity strategies. We also have online recruitment fairs, which cover North America, including the United States. So we haven't given up on the US market. We're just adopting an alternative method in light of the current situation. We will closely monitor the situation, especially opportunities in the US market. So we'll keep the matter in view. What about markets other than the US? We have several major markets: the UK, Germany, Australia, Southeast Asia, and in particular Singapore, Malaysia. These are our major markets. As for the rest, in the past 10 months or so, we visited some 10 markets, including Canada, the UK, France, Middle East, Southeast Asia, Australia. Right, a follow-up question. Well, now that it's difficult for us to go to North America, you talked about online recruitment or talent attraction exercises. So can you tell us how much of your efforts are attributed to goes to the U.S. market in percentage terms? After this round of exercise targeting the European market, in the next round, I suppose in September or October, there will be another online talent attraction session for the U.S. market. Mr. Bill Tang, I support the retention of posts. Well, I think in terms of the development of Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Talent Engage is now the flagship organization, so we should support it. And I see in your application, apart from the director and the deputy director, there is also the head of research unit. This post holder will be responsible for reviewing immigration policies as well as manpower policies. That means including the supplementary labor scheme. Now I have a question on the SLS. As I understand, this policy is now under review. When will it be completed? We see something peculiar in the current socioeconomic situation. For certain industries such as the construction and food and beverage industries, the unemployment rate is as high as 5 to 6%. So undoubtedly, this is rather high. So will you introduce sector-specific labor importation freeze? Can you tell us about the timetable and the details? The next question is this. Apart from talents, local people are also falling victim to scam cases. Now, as I understand, in the first half of this year, close to $2 billion worth of scams have been committed. So for talents committed to take forward development in Hong Kong, what can be done to help them from being victims of scams? Because they are not familiar with our culture, our situation. They may not even be familiar with Chinese language. So what can be done to help them? For the head of the research unit, the post holder is not responsible for reviewing immigration policy. He's responsible for manpower projections and various talent schemes. Now, the projections ought not be done unless data are available. To answer members' question, for talent attraction and labor importation, we have two parts. The first part relates to 3 sector-specific schemes: care home workers, construction industry, and also for public works, and also the logistics industry. That means drivers. there is also the general employment policy and enhanced supplementary labor scheme. Starting from September 2023, we announced the enhanced SLS, and then we promised that the review will be conducted 2 years down the road. We rolled out the enhanced SLS in September 2023, but the first batch of application wasn't approved until towards the end of the first quarter of 2024 for us to be able to collect more data. So that means in the first half of 2026, 2 years from the start of the scheme, we should be able to complete this review, which we promised. Be it the SLS or the enhanced SLS, the major principle is that we should give priority to local employment. In the past, 26 low-skilled or non-skilled trades are excluded from the SLS. Now we accept applications for these trades as well. But all these are premised on the principle of according priority to local employment. Now, if an employer is unable to recruit local workers after 4 weeks of recruitment efforts, then the employer should be allowed to import labor on a suitable scale for the sake of Hong Kong's economic development. Now, perhaps we can further this discussion on another occasion at the panel. The next question is about scam prevention. Indeed, the Hong Kong Talent Engage attaches great importance to combating scam. We constantly remind talents not to be cheated. In fact, Mr. Jesse Chang also helped us take the initiative forward. It's a matter of raising their awareness, and it's not about whether they speak Chinese or not. Actually, English speakers are not the major victims. Usually, the Chinese-speaking talents are the major victims. So we do our best to help them. 12 more members would like to speak. 12 members have indicated they wish to speak, and after Mr. Chow Siu Chung has asked his questions, I will draw a line. So for other members in the complex here, if you want to ask questions, please come down and press the button. Mr. Kenneth Lang. Thank you, Chairman. This is a discussion on retaining the post of the Director and Deputy Director of Hong Kong Talent Engage, as well as the head of the research unit. I support the proposal. The Hong Kong Talent Engage has done a lot in the past 2 years. As for the manpower projection conducted by the research unit, by 2028, there will be a manpower shortage of 180,000 talents in Hong Kong. So the situation is dire. We need to start now. I have a number of questions. The first one is this. For talents applying to come to Hong Kong via the Hong Kong TE, who is responsible for ensuring that they can integrate into our society smoothly? Because I see for the duty list of the Deputy Director in relation to supporting the talents in settling down in Hong Kong, here it says he maintains close liaison with bureaus and departments, etc. I think it's rather vague. You did mention the post holders' work in paragraphs 8 and 9, but I want to make sure who has the main responsibility of providing support, because it is important. These talents will, if they're able to settle down, will contribute to our economy. The next point is about the work of the research unit. According to the paper, this head of the research unit is directly related to manpower projection studies. And one of the terms of reference of the Secretariat is to review and enhance the manpower policy. So it's not just the population policy. So it's not only confined to manpower or manpower projection, but rather population policy on a broader scale.
Secretary, thank you, Mr. Leung, for your questions. The Hong Kong TE helps incoming talents to settle down in Hong Kong, integrate into the life of Hong Kong. That's one of its tasks. But then, does it have principal responsibility in doing that? Well, I wouldn't say so, because with principal responsibility means that if they don't achieve that, then they need to be taken to task. But then, can people really settle down in Hong Kong and integrate in Hong Kong is a matter for individuals. So for the Hong Kong TE, its task is just to help them in that respect. And of course, I think for incoming talents, one of the major concerns is helping the children find school. And if the children are able to go to school, then that's one heavy weight off the shoulder. And then income talents are keen to learn Cantonese. That shows they respect the community here. They know Cantonese is the commonly spoken language here, so they want to learn Cantonese. They want to be able to speak at least a bit of Cantonese. And then voluntary service. You know that we have various approaches to promote voluntary service. Now we want them to learn more about our community, so they shouldn't just mingle in their own circles. We want them to integrate into the community as a whole. So one way to do that is to do voluntary work. So the director of HAT is to help incoming talents to become voluntary workers. So we use various means, as you can see, and we're still learning in the process. And if there are new ideas, we'll be happy to take them on board. And there are many incoming talents here in Hong Kong. And of course, for them, their main focus is on for them to create wealth for Hong Kong. But at the same time, we want them to provide voluntary service, and that is a huge pool to tap into. And population policy. I know Mr. Leung is very much concerned about that, but then the research unit is focused on manpower planning, because population policy is a major policy issue. We can't rely on a small research unit to do that. There are economists, there's an economist in the RU, but then we can't rely on a single economist to deal with a major issue like population policy. And we can only, provide input on manpower-related issues. But then, if it's not about manpower, and we talk about a whole population policy, well, then it's really not a task for the RU. Mr. Charles Siu Chung. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, the head of research unit will have new duties, according to the paper. Will provide standards for review standards to help assess the effectiveness of the manpower policies. I have a number of questions on the work of the head of the RU. First, median wage. Now, with labor importation, including the various importation schemes, the principle is always local workers first. And that is the cornerstone of any labor importation policies. Now, if we want to ensure local workers will first be given work, then it depends on the wage level, because the employment policy is based on the median wage level. If someone pays less than the median wage or the market rate, then of course, then we cannot hire local workers first, because they won't take the work. And so we're not able to ensure it will be local workers first. Now, in some job types, the setting of the median wage actually is not in line with market rate. For example, a minibus driver, now the median wage is $14,300. How can you really hire a driver with $14,300? And that's definitely not the actual median wage of minibus drivers. That's why minibus companies are not able to hire drivers. And then care workers, right now the median wage is $15,120. The Secretary will know well that there are about 10 to 12,000 local care workers in Hong Kong, and more than 80 or 90% of them work in homes, and their wage is definitely way higher than $15,120. So I don't know how you arrive at the median wage of $15,120. That's why I think setting the median wage rate right is very important. So I wonder if the head of research unit will come up with some more effective way to set the median wage. That's the first question. Second question, on the general employment policy and the supplementary labor scheme, importation scheme. Now, if the jobs are on the talents list, then we could waive some of the local market tests, and then the wage must be in line with the local wage level. I wonder if the head of RU has studied the local wage level for each of the job types on the list, on the talent list. And then Mr. Chen, came to discuss with us the subject in April, and Mr. Roy Chen, that is, and if unemployment rate is high, he'll inform the Revenue Department to take note of that. Now, in the catering sector, there is a serious issue. The unemployment rate went up from 4-point-something% to 5.7% in a year. And then number of jobs has dropped from 5,900 to 4,800 vacancies, that is. So that's a huge drop. And there are certain job types such as dishwashing, waiters and cooks. Now, you've already approved over 24,000 imported workers. So what suggestions has the head of RU made to the Revenue Bureau given the current circumstances? Mr. Chow, your questions are about policies, really. I'm talking about the duties of the head of RU. Secretary, yes, I know these are policy issues, but please allow me to answer the questions. Now, Mr. Chow is very much concerned about the setting of the median wage. Now, in the supplementary labor scheme and the enhanced supplementary labor scheme, the median wage is actually set by the Census and Statistics Department. So it's based on the professional calculation of the Census and Statistics Department. So the head of the research unit cannot really decide that wage level. So the authority of statistics is the Census and Statistics Department in Hong Kong. We have to have faith in the work of the Census and Statistics Department, because all the employment data and GDP data and so on, they are all compiled by the Census and Statistics Department. So I must state here that we take very seriously the median wage. Now, the median wage is calculated by the Census and Statistics Department. If you're not happy with it, is another matter. But there is a stringent process in setting the median wage, and then we update the figure continuously. Now, when they put in an application for imported workers, they will look at the prevailing median wage. But then, when the approval is finally given, we'll also look at the prevailing median wage, and the wage may have gone up, and people actually complain. Then they have not taken that, budgeted for that. So. But that is exactly how we do it. We follow a very stringent process in adopting the median wage. Talent list. Why do we want to compile a talent list? These are job types where there are shortage of manpower. So that's why when people want to import labor, they don't need to go through the process of recruiting local workers, because already the job types on the talent list are those where there is a shortage of manpower in Hong Kong. But then we still set a minimum wage for that. The third question, whether the head of research unit has conducted analysis for us. I can tell you, I can answer on his behalf. He regularly provides analysis to me, the Permanent Secretary, and the Director of Labor, the Commissioner for Labor. And then Mr. Chow mentioned, for instance, in recent months, we've seen issues with the catering sector or the retail sector. Yes, we do analysis by sectors, but then we have to look at the matter, reasonably. Now, there are certain job types where it's not been possible to recruit staff. For example, dishwashing and cooks also. Now, we want Hong Kong to become capital of tourism, and then maybe people, visitors have demand for different cuisines, not just Cantonese cuisines. If we don't import cooks specializing in those cuisines, is really good for Hong Kong. But of course, we do keep to the principle of local workers first. If there are local cooks who can fill the positions, we will make sure that they first hire local cooks. And if they don't, the applicants don't do so, we will say that it's not. Then we won't support the application. Thank you. Well, I think the business sector has also told you, Secretary, that the median wage is set at too high a level. And then Mr. Chow has pointed out that there is an increasing unemployment rate in certain sectors, but at the same time there are some 4,000 or 5,000 vacancies. So that's a mismatch here. It's obvious. Mr. Chen Yong, thank you. I support the retention of the posts and positions, because we see that we've been working with the director, then we know that he's doing a good job, and then every day there are tens of thousands of online inquiries, and also you need to recruit talent around the world. Now, Hong Kong is doing quite well in attracting top-notch talents to Hong Kong. So we're doing quite well. And as the Secretary pointed out, if we bring in such talents that will help to promote job opportunities in Hong Kong, because the new talents may bring in new business and create job opportunities. Now, my point of concern. This director, this post of director of the Hong Kong TE has a heavy workload. We can all see that. So are we able to retain a high caliber talent like Mr. Anthony Lau in his post? You have a heavy workload and you're doing a great job. And then that's the pay and condition he gets cannot be compared with that in the business sector. And now you're only renewing the contract for another 2 years. And we can expect that the workload will continue to be heavy. Now, the United States may be targeting top-end talents, and I believe then the director has an even heavier workload. Of course, I'm sure you're still working hard on that, but you're not at liberty to disclose anything, otherwise people will target you, right? So, can you tell us, with every talent brought to Hong Kong, how many jobs can be created in the local market? I wonder if you could tell us a bit more about that. So 2 questions. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chen, for your questions. First, if talents come to Hong Kong, they will bring about more job opportunities. Yes, it's the case. But then with type A talents, most of them will become bosses. They're not here to find a job, but rather they're here to start a business. Now, Of course, if they start a business in the new sector, that's good for Hong Kong, or they start business in the existing sector, they also help to promote economic development, and jobs will be created. That means there are more job opportunities for local workers. So that's why we are extending the period of visa for Type A talents from 2 to 3 years, because we want them to stay in Hong Kong, and because these are bosses who start businesses here. Another point, it's not that the Hong Kong TE is not attractive. You know, Mr. Lau was in the tourism business, and he's trying to bring his experience from the tourism sector to his current job and to attract talents, and it proves that he's right. The Hong Kong TE is now well known. It started off being rather obscure, and so he's done a good job. He's built a strong foundation, and I believe more talents will be happy to join the HKTE. So the HKTE is in itself recruiting good talents, and they are actively doing their duties, and perhaps I should appeal to those who want to join the Hong Kong TE to make applications to join us. Thank you.
Chairman, just to add that I fully agree that the recruitment of the director of HKTE should be the perfect example of how we should enlist global talents in our recruitment efforts. Next, Mr. Perry Yu. Chairman, we need talents. We also need manpower in general. So I welcome the appointment of the director to the office. Now, in relation to tourism, it is important that we have the Hong Kong Talent Engaged Director and the Deputy Director, and the head of the research unit is also crucial in conducting relevant studies. Now, we are concerned about manpower projections and its coordination. Sustained efforts are required. It is important that we have the most up-to-date data to make decisions, to help make decisions. Now, we often talk about labor importation. You talked about approving over 10,000 applications. How many of these talents have actually come to Hong Kong on the strength of their visas? Because according to my observation, say for the tourism and the hotel sector, many applications have gone through, but because of the financial consideration and the pace of recovery, in the end, not all talents who have successfully applied to come to Hong Kong have actually come to Hong Kong. So you need to level with the public whether when you say you have 50,000 successful applications, 50,000 talents have actually come to Hong Kong. My next question is about the research unit. In 2023, a manpower projection exercise was conducted, targeting the so-called 9 major industries. But I have some doubts. One of these 9 major industries is the tourism industry. According to the projection, will be short of 9,400 workers. The other segment is hotel and accommodation. Now, I'd like to know more about your methodology. Why is it separate from the tourism? Is it according to the CNSD's methodology? Can you adopt a more comprehensive approach, especially for sector-specific manpower projection, so that there is coordination among different policy bureaus, such as the CST Bureau and Education Bureau, etc., so as to have an accurate picture of how much manpower is needed? The other point is this. The HKT is underpinned by a team of 36 staff. So for the research unit in particular, what is the establishment? The paper is silent on the matter. In paragraph 30, I see 44 non-directorate staff, excluding the 14 civil service posts, etc. Does it mean that the rest, does it mean that the remaining 8 are staff of the research unit? I want to know whether you engage external consultant or whether the manpower projections is conducted by the research unit only. Right, in paragraph 15, in fact, it says that there are 9 staff members of the research unit. Secretary. Allow me to take these questions, Chairman. First, I fully agree with Mr. Perry Yu that we should not just cite the number of successful applications. Now, I will skip the part about the sector-specific labor importation scheme because there is no need to go through the 4-week local recruitment. I am concerned about the enhanced SLS. Now, we have a quota of 50,000, 60,000. But more importantly, how many of these applicants have actually come to Hong Kong? I don't need to conduct another survey. According to the data from Immigration Department, now excluding the 3 sector-specific schemes, there are about 20,000, 25,000 applicants coming over under the enhanced SLS. So 50,000 plus successful applications, some 25,000 applicants have come and worked in Hong Kong. And I fully agree with you that not all quotas have been used up. According to our information, for every 3 quotas, 2 will actually be used. That means after they've conducted recruitment, they would apply for the labor to come to Hong Kong. And according to statistics, about 2/3 of the quotas have been used. And then Mr. Chan can take the other question about the differentiation between the tourism and the hotel and accommodation sector. So I will give the floor to Mr. Chan now. Well, I think it's a matter of defining the segments. Apart from discussing with the CNSD, we also discussed with the policy bureaus. For the 9 industries and the 8 centers, we discussed the details. Certainly, there will be overlapping. For some sectors, with the overlapping part, does it mean that they should be excluded? For the tourism industry, we have agents, travel agents, tour guides, tourist escorts, and we also have retail and F&B sectors. We're talking about a big share of the GDP. So how do we separate tourism from other overlapping industries such as F&B and retail? So we discussed the 8 centers definitions. We also discussed the 9 industries. And we also clarified the question about overlapping. There will not be any overlapping. We have an establishment of 9, and in fact, you will find our organizational chart in enclosure 4. Well, just to supplement, Chairman, for tourist attractions, for example, I don't see anything mentioned here. I think it should be. It should be enhanced. Tourism attractions, you mean? Well, say staff working in the Disneyland or Ocean Park. They're included. They're included in tourism segment. Apart from retail and other consumption activities, we've included these staff members in the tourism sector according to the CNSD's methodology. Right, you can refer to the CNSD classification. Next, Dr. So Chang-Ming. Thank you, Chair. I support the retention of these posts. Just now, another member asked Secretary Mr. Chris Sun why these posts will only be retained for 2 years instead of the usual 3. According to the Secretary, the government strives to make savings and exercise fiscal prudence. But I don't think the Secretary should be so restrained. Now that we have a clear goal of developing Hong Kong into an international hub for high caliber talents. In the past 2 years, the Hong Kong talent engaged has achieved excellent results. According to the paper, we need to prepare for the planning work in relation to the 15th five-year plan so as to align our talent policies with the national strategy of developing new quality productive forces. So that's on the macro scale. At the lower level, we have talent attraction policies with clear objectives, including talent planning and other strategies to attract talents. As I understand, the government has urged all government departments, including the Hong Kong Talent Engage, to cut spending. But talent is prerequisite to promoting development in Hong Kong. So, Secretary, please consider turning these posts permanent instead of 2-year time-limited posts, because it would be rather embarrassing to plan beyond the 2-year period. The post holder will have doubts about the certainty of the or the continuity of the work. I don't need an answer. This is just my suggestion. All right? Any response, Secretary? I thank Dr. So for your words of encouragement and support. We will gauge the result in the next phase and consider the way forward. Now, Mr. Anthony Lau is not concerned about the time-limited post. He wants to show his capability. So rest assured, if need be, we will strive for the post to be converted into permanent ones. These are civil servants, so if they deliver, we will be able to have grounds to strive for more resources, so that next round we'll ask for your support again. Next, Dr. Tan Yue Heng. Thank you, Chair. I support this proposal to retain the 3 posts. I'm concerned about the research unit. The research unit under the Labour and Welfare Bureau is this. And I'm looking at the organization chart. There is a clear delineation of work, but under the Hong Kong Talent Engage, there is another research unit. Of course, every policy bureau should have a research team to conduct research. Now, since I see another section here called Planning and Insight section, is it possible to have better division of work? The next point is this. Research is of utmost importance in a policy bureau. A research unit or even a research division will be conducive to the research work of any policy bureau. So I see that this research unit has conducted a lot of work in facilitating policy formulation. So it plays a very important role. I see that this unit comprises 9 staff members together with, from this organization chart altogether 153 in your establishment. That is not a big one. Now, recently, the Legislative Council passed a motion on a study on the overall population policy coordination. Now, the Labor and Welfare Bureau should have regard to the overall population policy studies for the purpose of manpower projection and other relevant issues. Now, if this research unit performs well, it is possible that it could become a separate unit in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Tang. You've asked 2 questions. I'll invite my colleague to explain further. Perhaps it's a matter of terminology. The research unit is responsible for professional research. The unit is comprised mostly of statisticians and statistical officer. And then under the Hong Kong Talent Engage, there is a planning and insights section, but I don't think that's academic research as you may have in mind. It's more about how they can plan promotion and publicity and so on. And Dr. Tang asked whether the research unit would, earlier on, Mr. Charles Siu-chung, a member asked about whether the research unit will conduct research on population. But I've answered that no, the research unit will focus on manpower-related issues because population policy is too big an issue, and we have limited manpower in the unit. And of course, when we look at manpower issues, we have to look at the policy angle, the population angle. But we don't do our own research, but rather we will collect research data from the Census and Statistics Department in doing our manpower planning. So, the CNSD has a much bigger establishment in dealing with population issues, but then our research unit will focus on manpower. And then perhaps the director of Hong Kong Talent Exchange to explain what the planning and insights section does. The planning and insights section is actually to look at overseas markets. We study overseas markets to see which should be our priority markets, and then we also want to find out what sort of talents we will get from each market. So that's the kind of study we conduct, and then we can plan which markets we should start with attracting talents. And then this section has just 3 staff members in total. So they just prepare reports. And then they will tell us what overseas talents need if they come to Hong Kong, and also they will compile information on the outcome of our efforts in attracting talents overseas markets. So it's about we want to find out what the opportunities are for attracting talents and what income talents could expect in Hong Kong. Dr. Sarili. First, I would like to give due recognition to the effort of the Hong Kong TE. You've adopted innovative policies and you've achieved much. And this Hong Kong TE establishment and reference policies are actually bold innovation and innovative approach. And as the Chief Secretary said before, that there are hundreds of thousands of people who want to who are interested in coming to Hong Kong. That's helped to close the gap for us. Now, I support the retention of the posts and positions. I hope you will consider the following views and suggestions. First, I know you are keen to integrate with the Greater Bay Area. Well, Hong Kong has our own advantage. One country, two systems system. One country, two systems approach, rule of law, and so on. But that's not enough. We may need to secure more policy support from the central authorities, such as the taxation arrangement for talents and so on, because these are all issues that talents will consider whether they will come to Hong Kong. That's the first point. Second point, competing for businesses to come to Hong Kong. I know you've worked very well with different parties such as the Invest Hong Kong and the mainland offices of the Hong Kong Exile government and also overseas ETOs. But I think, competing for talents and businesses are one and the same thing. If there are businesses establishing in setting up in Hong Kong, definitely they will attract talents too. So how can you further enhance interaction among the different parties? Now, our director, of course, has been paused. Once has been paused, but anyway, I'm sure we'll find someone else, and I hope you will continue with your good work. Thank you. Secretary, thank you, Dr. Starry Lee, for your 2 questions and suggestions. They are really good suggestions. Hong Kong is part of the Greater Bay Area, and so how can we work with the other 9 cities and Macau to make good use of the unique position of Hong Kong? Last time I visited Malaysia, we actually invited GBA businesses to join us on in that delegation, because then we could achieve more. And it's not just about promoting Hong Kong, but also opportunities in GBA. Of course, we know the GBA well, but then in overseas there may not be enough information about the GBA. People don't know enough about it, and so it's better that we include the GBA partners that will allow us to achieve even more. And Dr. Starry Lee is right to point out that competing for talents and businesses are actually one and the same thing, and whether we should bring in businesses first or talents first, well, it's hard to say. I've seen that cases that after businesses establish their offices in Hong Kong, then talents are brought in too. And of course, we work closely with other colleagues who focus on bringing in businesses. I hope in future we'll be able to bring more businesses and talents to Hong Kong. We'll consider other ways to achieve that. Well, it's because your scheme has been successful, so you need to therefore pay more attention to adhering to the principle of local workers first. At the same time, we want to have more talents in Hong Kong. We need to have the right talents, and we need to bring them in. At the same time, we need to make sure that local employment comes first. I hope the Secretary and the Director will always strike the right balance between the two. It's not easy, but that this is a matter of great public concern. And in the community, many, in particular in the grassroots sector, have raised this point. So please, I hope you bear that in mind. Mr. Holden Chow. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I support retaining the posts and positions. The HATE has organized a summit, and I participated in that. And actually, the summit's been successful. It's achieved its desired outcome. Now, if we keep the director post position, I wonder if you will consider this. I perhaps you're already, doing something along that line. But how do you step up communication with overseas you need to work better with international schools, because when talents come to Hong Kong, they keen for their children to go to international schools. I know there's shortage of school places. I understand the Education Bureau has made some adjustment, but I think you need to work closer with this education sector on that. And then there's a list of about 120 tertiary institutions, in admitting talents. And I and the DAB visited France last year. In Europe, or in France, there are many universities which are not among the top 100, but then maybe in a particular field that university excels. So perhaps you could consider including these European universities in the list. Now, in Europe, there are many universities don't care about becoming the top 100, but rather they focus on the field they best at, and they are actually the top in the field among universities, but then they're not included in the list. So I hope you will review that. And then on Dr. Sarili's point, well, yes, there are many in the community, especially among the grassroots sectors, that they are facing challenges in terms of employment. So for certain sectors, maybe you need to review the pays of importing workers, because we need to protect grassroots workers first and foremost. And Mr. Christensen has been stressing that point too. So we need to strike the right balance. We need imported workers for sure in some sectors, but at the same time, we need to protect our grassroots workers. We need to protect the jobs of the grassroots sector. So please bear that in mind. Thank you. A question and a comment, Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chow. Briefly. Of course, talents need to provide education to the children. But actually, not all talents choose international schools for their children. From the data we have, many children of talents actually go to local schools. Not all of them are that wealthy. Many are just in the middle class, and so they want to pick the right school for their children. So it's not just the international schools, but talents may also choose aided schools in Hong Kong for the children. Now, as for the list of recognized tertiary institutions for admitting talents, people keep coming after us. They wonder why their institution is not on the list. Well, but then we need to make sure the list includes only the very good universities. But then if other universities want to get on the list, that shows that our scheme is working well. The Top Talents Pass scheme in particular is working well. And there are certain, say, hospitality schools from in Switzerland, in the Netherlands. They included because they are special. But then each university may excel in a particular field. Each university will claim that. So it's not possible for us to include all the universities. But then we will meet with them. We'll tell them how we actually compile the list. The third point, I must stress again. Supplementary labor scheme or any labor importation scheme, the principle is always local workers first. We'll make sure we keep to that principle. Thank you. Last one, Dr. Low Kwok. Actually, I've drawn the line before you indicated you wish to speak, so I'll give you 3 minutes. Thank you, Chairman. First, on the proposal of the Labour and Welfare Bureau to retain the free posts and positions, I am fully in support of that, because we face a dire situation with talents and manpower. Now, you've provided and published figures before that there will be a shortage of 180,000 workers by 2028. So that's a dire situation. And then last year in 2024, the latest worker statistics is 7.53 million. The median age is 48 years old. By 2046, the working population is 8.19 million. The median wage will be 55.5 by then. So we're not just short of the top talents or technical talents, but rather there is imbalance in the social structure, and there will be a serious shortage of elementary workers. Now, we always say we want to protect the jobs of local workers, but then where do we find local workers? Yes, we need to keep to that overarching principle, but then that's not really something we need to worry about now. It's about the demographic structure and the manpower structure. There will be a serious imbalance. I don't see suitable long-term solution yet. So a quick question. We have the one-way permit quota places of 150 a day. It's for family reunion. Now the quota places have not been used to the full, especially after during COVID. After COVID improved a bit, but still not all the quota places are taken up. And of course, we should allow people to come to Hong Kong for family reunion. What is the latest situation?
Secretary. I thank Dr. Loy Kwok for the two questions, but I'm afraid I'm not in a position to answer. Population policy is not within the purview of the Labour and Welfare Bureau. As for the one-way permit, it is under the remit of the Security Bureau. So I'll relay your views to them. Right, there'll be a discussion this Friday. I now put this matter to item to a vote. Will those in favor of the proposal in EC 2025-2610, please raise your hands. Thank you. Those against, please raise your hands. None. I think the majority of members who have voted are in favor of this proposal, so this item is carried. We now will vote on another matter. That is, whether the Finance Committee should further discuss this item. In accordance with paragraph 40A of the Establishment Subcommittee procedures, I put the following question to a vote, that the Establishment Subcommittee recommends a further discussion of the proposal endorsed by the subcommittee in EC 2025-2610 by the FC. I remind members that if this item is carried, it means that we recommend a further discussion by the FC of this paper. If the question is vetoed, that means this subcommittee does not recommend a further discussion of this paper. Will those in favor please raise your hands? Those in favor? Those against? Please raise your hands. Thank you. I think the majority of members who have voted are not in favor of this motion, so the motion is vetoed. This subcommittee does not recommend a further discussion of paper EC 2025-2610 by the Finance Committee. Thank you, Secretary. Now move on to item 2. That's EC 2025-2611. Proposed retention of one time-limited supernumerary post of Administrative Officer Staff Grade C, D2 in the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau for 3 years from the 1st of January 2026 up to the 31st of December 2028 for 3 years to continue to head the Sports and Recreation Division 2 to deliver a number of sports-related policy initiatives. The administration consulted the Panel on Home Affairs, Culture and Sports of the Legislative Council on the 12th of May 2025 to answer our questions. We're joined by Mr. Rasen Lau, Undersecretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism, Mr. George Choi, Commissioner for Sports, and also Ms. Zorina Wan, Principal Assistant Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism. So, Mr. Mao. Well, as chairman of the panel, Mr. Ma Fong Kwok is not a member of this subcommittee, nor is he here. I'm going to give a summary of the deliberations of the panel based on the information provided by the Secretariat. The Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau proposes to retain the time-limited supernumerary directorate post designated as Principal Assistant Secretary, Sports and Recreation Culture in the Sports and Recreation branch for 3 years, from the 1st of January 2026 to the 31st of December 2028, for the post holder to continue to head the Sports and Recreation Division 2 under the Sports and Recreation branch in delivering a number of sports-related policy initiatives. The panel on Home Affairs, Culture and Sports discussed the proposal at this meeting on the 12th of May 2025. Members supported the submission of the proposal to the Establishment Subcommittee for consideration. A number of members suggested converting the supernumerary post to a permanent post. They considered that the relevant tasks such as supervising the operation of Kai Tak Sports Park and spearheading the earmark scheme are ongoing tasks. Under the post, there is a team of permanent staff, so the post should not be a supernumerary one. The administration agreed that there is a long-term need for the post. However, given the current fiscal position of the government, the current proposal would likely be more acceptable to more parties. The administration will review the workload of the post between 2026 and 2028 and assess again the need to turn the post into a permanent one. That concludes my report. Undersecretary, would you like to deliver opening remarks? Chairman. Well, details of the core duties of this post holder are set out in the paper. This post holder will mainly be responsible for supervising and providing guidance to the operation of the Kai Tak Sports Park, which has been commissioned. He will also be handling applications under the earmark system, as well as preparing for the renewal of leases under for PRLs in 2026-27. Over 60 such leases will have to be renewed, so there will be a peak. This post holder will also be handling the applications under the Sir David Trench Fund Recreation, as well as the development blueprint for recreational facilities. So these are ongoing tasks, and as mentioned by Chair just now, we are also having regard to the current circumstances and a tight fiscal position. So I think it's more reasonable to float this proposal and then assess the need of this post in the longer term. I thank members for their concern. 3 members have indicated they wish to speak: Mr. Benson Look, Dr. So Chang Wing, and Mr. Lo Wai Kwok. I'll give each member 5 minutes. Mr. Benson Look. Chairman. As explained by the Undersecretary, this post holder will be responsible for supervising Kai Tak Sports Park and mark system. Well, these are the ongoing tasks. Well, of course, we will also see a peak in the renewal applications for PLLs. We need to strike a balance. So it is reasonable and appropriate to retain this time-limited post and assess the need in the longer term. Now, one major responsibility is to supervise and provide guidance to the operation of Kai Tak Sports Park. The park is running rather smoothly, and I believe the Undersecretary as well as the Sports Commissioner have been very devoted to ensure the smooth operation of the park. But we need to move on from just smooth operation to enhancing user experience. So I have a question about this core duty of supervising and providing guidance to the operation of the park. According to members of the audience, they had no problem going in. Everything was smooth. But then for elderly and children, they might not find it as smooth because there is no point-to-point drop-off, and it's quite a walk from the MTR stations or other drop-off points. So there are suggestions, for example, for electric vehicles like the ones being tried at the airport to be deployed, so that for those in need, they can be taken directly to the drop-off point at the entrance of the park. The other point is about the drop-off point for VIPs. According to the administration, they will actively consider the suggestion. So may I have an update? My third point is this. This post holder carries the title of PAS Sports and Recreation in bracket. But it's more than just sports and recreation. We want the 50,000 spectators to spur the spillover effect. That means they can bring economic benefits to the vicinity. So is there any updates on the relevant policies? I've been following up on this issue for quite some time. Undersecretary, thank you, member, for the questions. We fully agree that in the first phase of the Kai Tak Sports Park's commissioning, we were concerned about the dispersion of crowd and also transport and traffic management. We're now taking things to the next phase. We want to enhance the experience for everybody there, including children, elderly, how their needs can be met, as well as VIP in boxes. We want to enhance their experience. Perhaps I'll give the floor to the Commissioner to say more on that. But thank you, Chairman. After the Parks commissioning on the 1st of March, we've been working on a number of enhancement measures. We've been liaising very closely with members. Now, about the drop-off point, pickup drop-off point, indeed, we encourage the public to use public transport. However, in the past few months, from experience, now that traffic is smooth, we do find that there is room to provide more facilitation. For example, in the recent concert, we opened the access spot in the youth playground next to the stadium. It's closer to the MTR station. Pick-up, drop-off activities are allowed. Well, of course, there are picking up and dropping off activities, but at this moment, we are allowing only drop-off activities. The next point is this. Well, for major events, the car park is not open to the public. Now we have introduced a booking arrangement. Now for the series of concerts and other activities starting from June, we've allowed advanced booking for VIPs and other users so as to enhance the experience. About crowd diversion, likewise, there will be measures in place. For example, we're working with the shops in Kowloon City. During the Hong Kong Sevens, we partnered with some pubs in Tsim Sha Tsui. We provided shuttle services to divert crowds to Tsim Sha Tsui. Next, Dr. So Chang-wing. I support retention of this post, and I have a question. Now for the Principal Assistant Secretary, the duties have shifted from operation planning to operation contract management. I'm sure that there are detailed requirements on the operator's performance. So after this shift of duties, what specific duties are entailed for this post holder? For example, for the national games, I suppose the government provides steer. So how does it relate to this post holder? And that leads to my next question. The PAR-SR2 post will be supported by 15 non-directorate civil service posts, as well as 17 NCSC staff. I appreciate the planning for the commissioning of the park. It's also supported the hosting of a number of mega events in Hong Kong. Since the duties of the PAS have now been shifted, what about the manpower of this manpower deployment of these staff?
Undersecretary. Thank you, Dr. So, for your question. Yes, this post covers a huge range of policies. Sports development blueprint, sports and recreation development blueprint, and many other tasks. So the post holder needs the support of other colleagues. As for the government architect, the post is about to expire. It's expired actually, and but then there may still be contract disputes and claims and so on. And so the task is now taken up by the PAS SR2. And there are colleagues who were under the government architect. They are now under the PAS SR2. As for the sports park, is now started operation, but that doesn't mean the workload is any lighter. Because to us and to all Hong Kong people, every mega event matters. And with every mega event, there is much coordination and planning that's required. Because each mega event is unique and with unique needs. So different departments, including the police, the transport department, the public transport sector and so on, all need to give their support. For example, on what days a mega event is held will also mean there is need for special arrangement. So that's why PSSR2 plays a key role here. Now, different departments may have different concerns, and so we need to help them, or accept a certain option after identifying their common concerns and so on. And that's why the PASSR2 will continue to have a heavy workload dealing with the sports park management and so on, operation. Dr. Low Wai Kwok. Thank you, Chairman. Now, there are two time-limited supernumerary posts in the CSAB, and you're keeping one of them, and because there is a continued need to continue with the relevant work, and of course I support that. Now Hong Kong is again ranked among the top 3 in terms of competitiveness compared to other cities around the world, and that's something we're happy about. And infrastructure is always ranked high, most of the time is ranked top. And of course, the Kai Tak Sports Park is one of the major infrastructure projects that are completed in recent years, especially when it was a huge challenge actually to complete the project. And now we see that we are able to host mega events, concerts, and so on at the venue. And the venue has proven its world-class standard. Of course, there's still a need to improve various areas. Just now, a member mentioned issues that require attention. For example, can we allow cars to drop off passengers going to the venue or whatever? So I think it's necessary to keep this time-limited post for some time to deal with all these issues arising from the operation of the sports park. At the same time, we want the sports park to play a more effective role, and so we're able to host more mega events there. So the post holder will have to work it out with the park management. So that's why I support the retention of posts, and I hope that they will continue to do, the post holder will continue to do an even more brilliant job. Under Secretary, thank you for your support and your positive comments. We will continue to work hard. Yes, the Kai Tak Sports Park is indeed a world-class facility, and I would like to thank the entire works team for planning and designing such a beautiful and useful venue for us, and so we're able to hold mega world-class performances and sports events at this excellent venue. So we'll certainly cherish this important asset and we'll make good use of it. Thank you. Mr. Perry Yu. The Bureau is proposing to retain the time-limited supernumerary post of PAS. I support it. We can all see how successful the Kai Tak Sports Park has been since its opening. But of course, there's still a need to iron out various other minor issues, and so it's important that we keep the post. The post holder also spearheads the M-Mark system, and it's something of interest to me, of course. Now, we want the M-Mark scheme to bring more world-class events to Hong Kong. More importantly, we want to promote sports tourism and recreation tourism. So now with the sports park in place, that will help us to do more in this respect. Now, paragraph 11 of the paper, it says that in the third quarter there will be certain adjustment to the M-Mark scheme system. And can you review more information? Will you make reference to the enhancement measures for the arts and the mega events fund scheme, so that we could have stronger multiplying effect? Hong Kong Stadium and the Hong Kong and the Kai Tak Sports Park is hope that there will be synergy between the two. So what is the latest positioning for the Hong Kong Stadium? Could you tell us more at this point? Under Secretary, thank you. I think you can all see that under the M-Mark system, we've brought in various mega events such as Live Golf, snooker Grand Prix and the equestrian event and so on. These have never been held in Hong Kong, and we've brought in all these events, so we can see that the M-mark system works well. But then, as mentioned, we must keep reviewing whether the existing system remains appealing and whether there are good economic benefits arising from the system. So that's why we need to review the system, and we'll soon be announcing the details. And your point of concern has certainly been taken on board. We want to make sure there is better integration of culture, sports, and tourism. And so then with sports events that will help to promote sports development in Hong Kong. At the same time, it can bring more visitors to our mega events, and then we could play our role well as an exchange center. As for the positioning of the Hong Kong Stadium, we are reviewing that too. Now we need venues for mega events and for other events. So we'll see how the Hong Kong Stadium could support our mega event economy and meet our development needs in future. Now, the last review was done years ago before we had the Kai Tak Sports Park. Now, with the Hong Kong, initially we thought with the Kai Tak Sports Park, then we can turn the Hong Kong Stadium for mostly community use. But then things have changed, and we'll see how the two could achieve certain synergy better. So we are now looking into all that, and when we have some conclusions, we will be more than happy to speak to you about that. It's Dr. Starry Lee. I support the retention of the post. Now, with the hard work of the Bureau and with the opening of the high-tech sports park, it's actually become a brand for Hong Kong, and we are seeing more mega events, and the high-tech sports park is now almost a must visit for overseas visitors. So it's doing really well. Now, after the opening of the Kai Tak Sports Park, so we are seeing more mega events, bringing people from different places to Hong Kong. But then local residents also have some views on the matter. Now, the PA Expos will supervise the operation of the Kai Tak Sports Park. So when people attend mega events at the Kai Tak Sports Park, we need to make sure we minimize the impact on local residents. We see that you continue to improve the transport arrangement, the MTR, bus services, and so on. Some have suggested even water taxis. So there's an additional channel to disperse the crowd. I think water taxis service could indeed be provided, and then we could link up with West Kowloon and the piers in Hong Kong and Kowloon. And another point, now we want to encourage the use of public transport. But I wonder if you have reviewed your arrangement. Maybe you should have new considerations about the drop-off points of coach buses, so to enhance the experience of visitors. At the same time, we have to consider the traffic condition in the area. I've heard views that whenever there are major concerts, the 13 and 5 streets in the vicinity are affected. So perhaps you need to talk to the Transport and Logistics Bureau too, to see how there could be better transport arrangement for those attending events at the sports park. At the same time, you minimize traffic impact in the neighboring areas, because many residents are now starting to complain about that. So perhaps you should work with the TLB and come up with some solutions together. On the Secretary, yeah, so we totally Thank you for your support, and that's why we need to retain this post, because with every mega event is unique. We have to consider the days the event is held, a major source of visitors, and the the other considerations too. So we need to make flexible arrangements, and that's why we are still trying out different ways, so there could be a better experience for those attending the events. At the same time, we want to minimize the impact on local residents. There's a need to strike a balance, and there's need to make choices, and then with different events there may be a need for different arrangements. That exactly explains why we need to keep the PAS post, so that the post holder could coordinate different departments and come up with tailor-made arrangements for each mega event. We will pay attention to the concerns expressed, and we will try to resolve those issues. And as the Commissioner of Sports mentioned, we are now increasing more and more drop-off and pick-up points, and also we are trying out different arrangements too, to see how we could meet the needs of visitors. At the same time, we won't pose too much of an impact on the traffic condition in the nearby areas. I think you should consider the water taxi suggestion. Yes, we'll certainly consider it. Will it be the PAS that will deal with that? Yes, it's the PAS who will deal with that. We'll also consider water transport services. But then I must stress a point. There are certain limitations with water transport services, especially when it comes to crowd dispersal. It may not be the best arrangement, but of course it's better to have such service than not to have it, and because it will offer another option to people to access the sports park. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Vincent Chang. Chairman, I support retention of the post. I'm not a member of the subcommittee, but we discussed a number of times the proposal at the panel meeting. Now, as I understand, this post holder has a heavy portfolio. I think that this should be turned into a permanent post, be it M+ or the Kai Tak Sports Park or the 10-year development plan for leisure and recreational facilities. There is a need for a permanent post to be created. And there is a lot on the plate of this post holder. The next question is about Kai Tak Sports Park. There have been a lot of praises about this park. Concerts, sports events have been held, and the other related issue is the new positioning of the Hong Kong Coliseum. Of course, the priority should be given to sports development for Kai Tak. I understand a committee will be established to discuss the development of Kai Tak Sports Park in the future. May I have an update? Another point is this: there is a requirement for a certain number of events or competitions to be held at Kai Tak Sports Park. Now, otherwise there'll be a financial penalty. Is it under review now? But I think the priority is to support sports events and sports development for Kai Tak Sports Park. Under Secretary. Thank you. As explained, we do agree that there is a need to turn this post permanent, but at this point, because of the circumstances and the tight fiscal position, as well as the concerns received, we believe it is more suitable to retain this post as supernumerary post for 3 years. I also thank Mr. Chang for acknowledging the work of the post holder. This post holder does have a lot on his plate. About this advisory body or advisory committee will make an announcement once details are finalized. Positioning of the Kai Tak Sports Park, indeed, we've signed a contract with the operator. There is a clause in the contract about how many days of the operation should be apportioned to sports events, and the operator is now abiding by the contract clause. Now, of course, we should constantly keep in view the terms and conditions in the contract and see if amendments are necessary. So in light of the changes in Hong Kong in the future, if need be, the terms and conditions may be revised. Now, the Kai Tak Sports Park is positioned as a sports park. The focus is on sports, of course. So major sports events, of course, will be given the top priority. In spite of this, as you can see, we have also allowed a number of cultural and entertainment events to take place there as well. Any follow-up? No? Right, if there are no further questions, I now put this item to a vote. For those in favor of EC 2025-2611, please raise your hand. Thank you. Those against, please raise your hand. All right, I think the majority of members who have voted are in favor of this item. So this item is carried. We now proceed to another item, and that is whether the Finance Committee should further discuss the item in accordance to paragraph 40A of the Establishment Subcommittee procedures. I put the following question to a vote: that this subcommittee recommends a further discussion by the Finance Committee the proposal contained in EC 2025-2611 endorsed by the subcommittee. I remind members that if this item is carried, that means the subcommittee recommends a further discussion of this paper by the Finance Committee. If the question is vetoed, that means the subcommittee does not recommend a further discussion of this paper. For those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Those against, please raise your hands. Thank you. I think the majority of members who have voted are not in favor of this item, so the item is vetoed. This subcommittee does not recommend a further discussion by the Finance Committee of the paper number EC 2025-2611. The meeting is now concluded. The next meeting will be held on the 23rd of July 2025, Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Thank you for attending the meeting.